Hi there, this is Dr. Janice R. Love, also known as the First Lady Coach. And when is the last time you had a conversation with God about your purpose? When was the last time? Well, if it you haven't had that conversation or you really don't know if you've had that conversation, then it's time for you to watch this video. The 3 reasons why you are not having purpose conversations with God. I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why you're probably not having those conversations. And then we're going to let you know what to do about that. So stay tuned. 3 reasons you are not having purpose conversations with God. Now, surely you are talking to God, right? You're praying, you're having those conversations, but there might be a reason why you are not having purpose kinds of conversations. And a purpose conversation is where we are getting some revelation from God. We are having conversations with him about what he created us to do. And we're focused specifically again on the assignment he might have for us or getting some clues about who he made us to be so that we can, what I talk about all the time is walk boldly into the destiny for which you were chosen. But in order to be able to do that, we have to have conversations with God. Now, so many times when things happen, we sometimes think they're coincidences or accidents. But what I want to show you tonight is probably the 3 reasons you might not be having those purpose conversations. And definitely, I'm not going to leave you hanging there. I'm going to help you to be able to overcome those 3 reasons as to why you're not having those purpose conversations with God. All right. So that's my goal for tonight, is to tell you what they are, the reasons why you might not be having those conversations, and then what you can do about it. So again, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to do like, some people, when you have conversations about something, a challenge that you want to overcome, they say, girl, just pray about it. Well, I'm not going to do that to you tonight. I'm going to give you some solutions to the challenge as to why you might not be having these purpose conversations. All right. So again, once again, we're talking about 3 reasons you are not having purpose conversations with God. So I'm going to get right into it and talk about some of these reasons rather than taking a long introduction. We're going to get right into those reasons so we can take a look at them. And then, like I said, be ready to do something about them. All right. So the very first reason why you are probably not having purpose conversations with God is something that I don't really like to admit, but here it is. Guess what? You have a bad memory. That's the first reason why you are not having purpose conversations with God. It's because you have a bad memory. Now, again, I'm not talking about anybody, myself. Anything that I share with you is probably something that I have gone through myself. But isn't it something how soon we can forget some of the things that God has done for us? We have so many things. We have so much incoming. Like right now, you're watching this video and you're probably doing 2 or 3 things other than just paying attention to me, right? You're messing around with something. You're probably just thinking about who else you need to look at on Facebook or on LinkedIn. You're probably doing several things. You probably can't remember certain things. Like right now, I cannot remember like what I ate on Thursday. I can't necessarily remember lots of things because there's so much coming in. There's so much that it's so easy to forget things. New stuff is coming in, so you push the old stuff behind. So we have bad memories, and we're not alone. We are not alone because the Israelites had the same problem. In fact, let me take you back to a scripture that shows you that we are not alone when it comes to forgetting what God has done in our lives. So remember Psalms 106, 12 to 13. Then your people trusted you and sang your praises, but they soon forgot what you had done and rejected your advice. You know what happened with the Israelites. God used Moses to part the Red Sea so they could cross over on dry land. And then they turned around and forgot all about that. So when some things that weren't half as challenging came up, because their memory was bad and because they had forgotten what God had done, they started stressing about new things. So as we think about our own lives, we sometimes get stressed out about something that God might have delivered us from years ago, but we just can't seem to remember at the time. We have that selective memory sometimes. And again, I'm not talking about y'all. I am talking about myself. We have selective memory. And so many times we stress out about things because we cannot remember. And as we start talking about our purpose, sometimes it's laid out there for us. But because we really can't remember and some of the things that God has done, or we are not keeping it in front of us on a regular basis so that we can spend time thanking God for it. And he can give us some reminders about how he brought us through this, or again, keeping that fresh in your mind, because again, when we can keep those things that God has done for us, how he delivered for us, fresh in our minds, then we are able to remember those things, and also to meditate on those things so that God can speak to us in ways that we just clearly might not be hearing. All right, so the very first thing is that you probably have a bad memory. Okay. And that's okay. We all do. But again, that could be keeping you from having that God conversation. All right. All right. Because, well, the other thing while I'm out there, um, sometimes when we're having those conversations with God, we are spending most of our time asking, right? Asking him for stuff and telling him what we need him to do, or even spending more time focused on everybody else's prayers. All those people you saw on Facebook that asked for prayer, or all those people at church, or just situations that are going on. We spend a lot of our time having conversations with God about everybody else and everything other than, again, the reason for which he created us. So we actually, with our bad memory, we have to remember to schedule time to have those conversations with God. All right, so that's the very first thing that is a challenge, but again, you know what to do about it, how to improve your memory. Okay, and we're going to get to that in a second. All right, so the second reason that you might not be having purpose conversations with God is because your God wink radar is not working. Anybody ever heard of a God wink? There's an author out there. His name is Squire Rushnell. I think that's his name, Squire Rushnell. He introduced us to a concept called the God wink. Okay. And he's written some books, and he talks about what a God wink is. But what a God wink is those extraordinary little events that sometimes happen in our lives that we think are coincidences. So it might be somebody you met, it might be a video you watched, it might be something just totally random that happens in your life that you think is a coincidence, but you don't recognize that it's God's hand moving in your life, putting you a certain place so you would meet somebody, um, uh, reminding you of something so that you could respond to it. Um, just bringing things to our remembrance. He calls those things God winks. So when you can't recognize when you experience a God wink, then it'll just go past you, and you won't even recognize that God moved on your behalf, or he put you in a place so that you would be in front of somebody great. He put you in a place that you again would be able to make a certain decision. Sometimes we miss out on the God winks that he is clearly trying to show us. So again, those most of the things that happen, well, nothing in your life is an accident or a coincidence. Sometimes we think we made decisions, but actually God guided us in a way so that we be in the right place at the right time, having conversations with the right person. It's just amazing how God works. So let's not forget about those little God winks that happen in our lives every day. Again, you just might have been scrolling through your social media right now, and you see me talking, and you say, "What is she talking about?" So I'm going to stay here a little longer. That could be a God wink. So make sure your God wink radar is working. Pay attention to what's going on in your life. Pay attention to some things that again you think, wow, that was strange, or you think is a coincidence or an accident, or sometimes it's even those things we think we did on our own, and God actually orchestrated. All right, so again, that second reason why we might not be having those conversations because our God wink radar is not working. So we have to pay attention to even just ordinary kind of things that happen in our life. Again, might be what restaurant we decide to go eat at. God may be orchestrating those things in the background so that again you might be in the right place at the right time. For instance, there's I write an article every month. If you live in the Kansas City area, please check out the Kansas City Globe. I write an article for the Kansas City Globe every month, and it's usually produced on the first Sunday. So look for it next Sunday. But my hubby and I were just eating out at a restaurant, eating some chicken. Y'all know my husband likes chicken, right? We were just eating some chicken, and we ran into the publisher, Miss Denise, and so at that time, I was like, you know what? Gosh, I really like to write sometimes. And at that moment, she says, oh, I'd love to have you write a column. So that, and I was just out eating some chicken, right? But God orchestrated that so that we would run into each other. And I saw that clearly as a God wink. You know, I had been praying about being able to get more exposure at writing and things, and God produced that moment where again I could have thought it was an accident that I both our husbands like chicken, right? And we just love the same restaurant, but God orchestrated that. All right, so have I made myself clear on that one? How God uses those God winks, and again, that's a term He came up with, not, but I love that term. Anyway, the third reason why you are not having God conversations is because you need a God resume. Now, if you participated in the top 7 reasons why you are not fully living a purpose driven life, you heard me talk about a God resume. But just to save you some time so you don't have to go back to session 4 of the Pearl Power series, I'm going to remind you what a God resume is. All right. So, first of all, you know what a resume is. A resume is typically a formal document where you talk about, you have a summary or an objective, you have a list of your skills, the experience that you had, you include your education as well. So we all know what a resume is. But do you know the difference between your resume and a God resume? Well, you know, I'm going to tell you what that is. All right. So that's a resume. And then, so what's a God resume? A God resume is a summary also of your gifts and abilities, your skills, experience, your life education, those lessons we have learned, and also God's blessings in your life. But it's not so much focused on you. Yeah, it's your life, but it is totally focuses on God. So when we are able to really look back over our lives and look again at those God wings or look at the things that God has done in our lives, it helps us to have all of that in the sense in with a God resume, you get to have all that in one place. Wouldn't that be amazing? Rather than you having all these journals. Remember, I got like 30, I don't even know how many journals I got. They are all over the place. And again, I hope nobody finds them. I'm going to have to start figuring out what to do with those things in case something happens to me, right? But I have all these journals where I am documenting what God has done in my life, my experiences, the things that I have gone through. Some of them have turned into books, right? But I document all this stuff. I have little sticky notes. I have journals. I have prayer journals. I have all this stuff where I am just writing down things that God has done in my life. But when I really want to go back and look at stuff, I'd either have to pull out all those journals and start hunting through things again, or all these little sticky notes I have all over the place. And you might be like me, you post them everywhere so you can remember stuff. Remember, because we have those bad memories, right? But imagine having a God resume. The Bible clearly says that we are to remember the days of long ago and meditate on all your works and consider what your hands have done. And again, this is in Psalms 143:5. It talks about again that we need to remember the days of long ago. We need to remember all those things that God has done in our lives. And the way that I have created It's a great process. The way I have created the God resume, and as far as I know, I'm the only one doing this, right? But I help you to come up with your God resume. And you're saying, okay, well, can you help me with that, Janice? I'm glad you asked because I have a God resume boot camp. Yay! That I am going to be starting on Tuesday night. Now, if you are interested in participating in the free God Resume 5-day boot camp, then by all means register at www.godresume.live. Again, www.godresume.live. It's free. It's simple. Again, it's a 5-day boot camp. Again, but this is going to be done on your own time. I will have some activities that you can do at your own pace. Again, if you want to make it a 20-day God resume boot camp, help yourself. But I guarantee you can have your own God resume in 5 days. So basically, lesson goes out every day to you electronically, delivered directly to your inbox. You go into the system, my wonderful system that I am going to be sharing with you more, and you're able to participate in this God Resume Bootcamp. Now, again, I might have a session where you can come on live with me in a session just for those enrolled in the class, but it's really done at your own pace. So, what's keeping you from having a God resume? Remember, there are reasons why we are not having those purpose conversations with God. And wouldn't it be nice if you're able to, first of all, remember what He has done and have a place where all this is documented so you don't have to, again, go through all those journals. You don't have to go through all that paper that we have all over the place. So sign up for the God Resume Bootcamp 5-day bootcamp. And again, that's at www.godresume.live. And then you're able to have everything you need to begin to have those God conversations that focus around your purpose. Because again, God has left clues for us. He has left information for us. And all we have to do is be in the right mindset, take the time, and have the right tools to go ahead and get those messages that God is clearly trying to share with us. All right. So that is how you overcome the problem of not having purpose conversations with God. All right. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.